What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the YouTube Barber Academy. Look, I'm gonna say this right now. This is explicit content. No offense to any redheaded stepchild that may be offended by this, but I threw down the flames on some red hair. All right, for those of you guys who don't know, red hair, it can be a bitch to fade. It really can be. Like, you can do everything right and there still be dark spots and light spots, and I really don't know why that is. Some blonde hair does it too. But lately, I've been trying to show a couple more redheaded, skin fades just to show you guys how I deal with them. But I gotta say something about these Gamma blades. They have made this so much easier for me. Now, this is a client that I would previously struggle to get it right. I'd, of course, have to fight to get it right. But this client, in this situation with these guards, it was just super, super easy. So you guys ready? Let's get into it. First things first, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to debulk. I got the 1/2 on, and I'm just going up to about the parietal ridge, and that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to do anything too fancy here. I wanted to begin by knocking down these hairs because his hair was way too long for me to try to put an accurate skin line in it or to really do anything with any type of degree of consistency. So it's really important that you guys do this. I do see a lot of people on Instagram like knocking out bulk with a trimmer, it's too much hair to really know what you're doing, and it can lead to mistakes pretty easily. So what I like to do and how I feel like my fades come out the freshest is when I knock that down initially, and now I can see when I put in my skin line, it's going to be smooth. I'm not going to have no issues. Everything's going to go out the way that it should. Right now, what you see, I actually have a number 3, and I got it in the open position. I'm going to try to avoid using clipper over comb in this because I know a lot of you guys who watch me don't feel comfortable with this. I did use a tiny bit of clipper over comb, but more importantly, shear over comb. That'll come later, but I'm going to begin in the open position, and then I'm going to begin closing it. Now, whenever you have those clients that you really struggle with, this is actually a really smart step. To use a 3 or a 2 in the parietal ridge area is going to help you to understand where your end point for your fade is. So obviously our beginning point is going to be skin, and if I know that I can end once I reach that number 3, I know that I'm going to get my gradient perfectly the way that I want it to look. So once I got that part knocked out, it's easy going after this. This is all smooth sailing. There's nothing that I've done yet that you guys would struggle with. Nothing about this is hard yet. I'm just simply removing bulk, and I'm kind of positioning myself so that when I get into doing the fade, it's going to be a little bit easier. So with that being said, I'm going to go back to a number 2 now. I got the 2 open, and I'm going to do 2 open, 2 close. And you guys are going to start to see, because remember, I did the initial debulking with the 1 1/2 on my detachable. So this is meeting that length, and you guys could already see that the gradient from the parietal ridge down is going to be smooth. And I can't stress to you guys enough, like if you got somebody that's got some lumps in their head or some weird growth patterns or anything like that, this is such a smart step to do to just kind of eliminate this area as a problem first, because if you know how to fade and you know what you're doing, you're going to be able to just knock out that skin line, especially if you got things 0 gap, you got everything functioning for you properly. That's not going to be a problem. That's only a problem when you're not holding it flat, when you're not following your right process, when you're not moving the clipper properly, if you're leaving the head too much. These are the reasons why you struggle to remove that skin line, and anything beyond that is probably due to the way your tools are set up. And again, I'm using the bracket from Nilo Blends to put in this skin line. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to throw in this skin line, and I'm just going to make sure that it's the same on both sides. So take your time with this step. Make sure you hold it flat. Eliminate any additional cleanup that you might have to do. And you guys know that I like putting in my lines with my 5-0 on my detachable clipper. That's usually the way that I'll do it. But lately I've been experimenting around with this trimmer with this Andis GTX blade on it, and I'm really enjoying using it. So that's kind of what I'm up to right now. I'm just kind of feeling it out, just seeing how it's working. And as you guys can see, it just removes the bulk effortlessly. Yeah, but you guys can see it's just knocking out that bulk. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna bald him out. Now, one of the reasons why it's also kind of nice coming from a trimmer is the trimmer gets you as close as you can get before you get to your electric shaver. So once I get to my electric shaver, the jump between my trimmer and my electric shaver, it's so small that it's very easy to blend it out just by releasing your pressure when you get towards the top of that line, and you can push as hard as you want towards the bottom. And if you have an Uno going around the ears and getting those little troublesome spots where hair always resides is when you hit it under the nose. I have quite a few clients that, you know, you got to push the mustache down and they like the line across, and me too. I like mine like that too. So I just take the Gamma Uno and touch this spot, and it's just so easy. But I'll tell you guys what, if you really want your blends to pop, you got to get this down to skin at the very bottom. You really have to, and you got to get it as close as possible. And for years, I used the Braun Series 9, and I did not do any follow-up with anything else. But the Braun Series 9 is almost like an in-between step, in between your Unos and your Prodigies, your other electric shavers that cut really close. This is that in-between step, and it cuts very gentle, which is why I still use it. So I just can quickly remove this panel of hair. His skin feels no irritation. And again, he's a redhead, and a lot of redheads that I've cut to skin have some fairly sensitive skin too. I'm going to go with the open taper, and the open taper on the Gamma Ergos leaves it basically about 2.5 millimeters. And as you can see, the skin line on this red hair is going to come out easy because it's already not really looking all that harsh anymore. It looks pretty good as it is. And I'm going to begin clicking it down one click at a time on my lever. So I'm beginning with my lever completely open, and you'll see me sort of using my crisscross method. And each time I click the lever, I attempt to stay a little bit lower than I was in the previous step until I return all the way back down to closed taper. And once you hit that closed taper, 9 times out of 10, the Gamma Ergo is going to take that out, and I'm not really going to have to jump over to a trimmer again. But on some dark hair, you're definitely probably going to have to jump back to the trimmer just for a couple taps. There's usually always some type of residual there. So I would caution you to do that. And as long as you do that, you're not going to have any issues. So now we got it all the way closed. I'm really happy with how that bottom line looks. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move on to my next step. But I just do want to caution you real quick. I'm working in panels like this because I'm filming and I'm trying not to have to reposition my camera. I would complete this particular open taper step, the guideline, and then I would work one side, then I'd work the other. I like to do this step all the way around the whole head before I move on. So that way you know that you're coming from the same launch point on both sides. Do your best to find what the grain patterns are. A lot of times you're going to see people's on one side, it might be almost like down and swooping back. The other ones, it might just be perfectly down. You got people's hair that juts forward. So I always try to angle the clipper to be against the grain as possible, especially on like straight hair, straight red hair like this. The next step that I like to do, I like to return with the 1. So I'll take a number 1 open, and I'm actually going to begin my exact same steps that I did previously. I got the 1 open, 1 closed, and I'm going to begin. So when the 1 is in the open position, I'm going to begin clicking down, crisscrossing again, holding it flat. And this is key. I can't tell you guys enough how many times when I was teaching at the barber school that people were not holding their clipper flat. A lot of times they were angling it slightly up. And if you are angling it slightly up, you're increasing the length that you're leaving. So if that is the case, then you're going to think you need to jump to your 0 sooner than you do, and you're not going to be able to actually get that hair cut. Now, I know that a lot of people think that we're just great at flipping our wrists and snapping in fades, and there's people who can do this. They're great. I mean, people like Chris Basio and a lot of the great ones, of course, we can snap a fade in with our wrist, but that's going to lead to inconsistency in the long haul. So you need to understand that you don't have to do any of that. Your blades are set up for you to succeed, and you're going to be able to get through this process without a huge fight because it's going to make you more consistent in the end. So again, I returned to the 1 1/2 because once I got done doing the 1, I just wanted to meet those 2 lengths, and I wanted to make sure that that part of the blend was smooth. And this is where red hair can get tricky, and that's why you see me kind of backtracking a little bit more than usual. I didn't just jump straight into the 0. I knew that there was a problem with the gradient in between the 1 and the 1 1/2. So I just wanted to be double checking, be double careful, going with it open, going with it closed. And I am still liking what I'm seeing in that parietal ridge area. And for those of you guys who might not know, if you took a comb and you place it flat alongside the head, right where it leaves the hair, that's the parietal ridge. So that's where you can find yourself either making or breaking your blend. Because if you don't keep enough dark at the top, you're not going to have the gradient the way that you want it. And I'm doubling back here, and I'm repeating my same process with the open 0, closed 0, double magnetic for gamma. And you're going to see that this blend is really going to start to pop. And of course, because it's red hair and nothing can go super perfect, you're definitely probably going to have to return to your open taper step too. So I guess what you really need to be focused on is kind of what your steps are in order, and then knowing what step is just above you and what step is just below you. So that way, when you do make a change, you make a meaningful change, and you know just where to go when things are not coming out. Because obviously that area that I'm working on right now, it was still a little bit dark. It was still giving us trouble. And when you really get into it, you know that the 0 guard wasn't going to do it. So I hop back down to the open taper, and then I began closing it a little bit too, just to make sure that I got that blend kind of, iced out. So now I'm starting to be real happy with how this is looking. Everything is looking the way it should. It's coming together nicely, and we're in good shape here on this side of the head. So once we're done with this side of the head, we're actually going to cut the top. I'll show you guys how to cut the top real quick. But one of the other things that I think helped this blend come out the way that it did was the shear over comb towards the end here. So I'm going to move through a little faster on this side. We got the 1 open, 1 closed. And I could already tell you by just rewatching this video that this is going to be the easier side to blend. The way his hair pattern is, the way that it lays. Yeah, this will be the side that I'll take that picture for the thumbnail or for the IG or for whatever. Now, a lot of people are on Instagram creating some unrealistic expectations using Photoshop, showing you like the one fresh part in a cut. But I'm going to tell you guys this, just being honest. There's always mistakes in every single haircut, no matter how good you are. You can cover them up with some enhancements and stuff like that too. And I'm a big fan of enhancements. Don't get me wrong. I didn't do any on this particular hair, but there's always mistakes in haircuts. And most of us, trench barbers. I'm not talking about celebrity barbers. I'm talking about most of us trench barbers are doing the best that we can in 25 minutes. So I was done with this haircut. He was gone 25 minutes later. And I was on to my next one, and I kind of got lucky to even have enough time to film it. Since I got these gamma double magnetic guards, it's really started to fall into place. It's been a lot easier than it was before. Now, I think that might have something to do with the fact that the 1 1/2 feeds hair so cleanly, and I think it might have also something to do with the 0 guard feeding hair super cleanly. But I mean, come on, look at the blend. It just came out so easy. I never struggled once. I cushioned myself a few times. I went up and down a few times, but at the end of the day, I got this cut the way that I wanted. I was really happy with this haircut. Just gonna knock out this one little dark spot that's been sitting here bothering me. There's going to be a little technique that we're about to use on the top when we get these scissors going, and I'm gonna show you guys a couple little tricks to using your shears on top. A lot of you guys are not maybe comfortable with it or whatever, but we're gonna talk about this. So I'm going to begin in the center of the head with a mohawk guideline. All right, that's going to determine how much hair that I want to take off. And if you guys don't want to cut yourself, try to cut kind of low in the channel of your fingers and try not to pass the second knuckle like I do, because you really will cut your second knuckle pretty good. I started cutting it again this year. It's so stupid, man. I went like 8 years without cutting myself. And in the front section, this is kind of clutch. I know that he wears his hair kind of spiked up in the front, so I'm not too worried about it. but I like to kind of take the front in that type of section and cut it. So now I'm going to fall back, and you see me working off my guide. I'm just working it slightly down to our right, his left, and I'm point cutting because I want to add some texture in there. So all I'm really doing is working off a very small channel. So my original guide was in the middle. Now I'm working slightly off to the right. And as you see, I'm going to continue working that guide, just making it wider and wider until I reach close to the parietal ridge, which I will handle with some shear over comb. So I'm not even really too concerned with lifting the hair up in those ways because, again, trench barber, 25 minutes, got to do what makes sense. Don't need to cut it twice. So the front can be a little tricky. So I'm going to actually just knock out this front and just get it laying the way that I want it to lay and make sure that it's even across both sides. And once it is, and again, normally I save the bangs and I cut them a little bit differently. We've talked about this pretty in depth on the Barber Lives. But on the Barber Lives, I really break this whole thing down, and we can get really deep into this, and I could really show you exactly what's going on here. So with that being said, I'll just keep working my guidelines out till I get to both ends, you know, to get them just right. All right, so the first step in doing this shear over comb. First step in doing this shear over comb, take some water, and I'm going to try to drag the hair down to create the worst line that I can. I want to see where the issue is. So that's what this step is. And once I identify where the issue is, I'm going to find a better position so that you guys can see it, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lift and I'm going to cut. Lift and cut and comb the hair back down to reset. That's all we're really doing here. We're lifting, we're cutting, and we're combing that hair back down to reset. Because if you guys take too much off in this step, you're definitely going to create issues for yourself. So just take off a little bit at a time and check and see how that goes. And you can also use your texturizing shears too. If you hop over to your texturizing shears, that's going to help thin those dark spots out. And this is where it really gets clutch for red hair or for blonde hair. You got to try to even out the density on both sides, because one of the reasons why this type of hair can be so difficult is because the varying degrees of density. Everybody's hair is a little thicker on one side than the other. And of course, that's going to cause you issues when you get in there and you do your blend. So that's pretty much it with the cut. Now this is like a checking step. I'm gonna blow dry it all forward, and I'm gonna tip his head down so you guys can see if there's anything that needs to be fixed. A lot of times if you cut the top inaccurately, you'll see some lines, especially once you dry it and comb it forward. And if you see the lines, the way to fix them is to just simply lift it up and cut it opposite from how you cut it. So we cut it horizontally, we'll check it vertically, we're cross-checking it vertically. So if you guys like this video, if you guys like this type of in-depth tutorial, if you guys like the haircut, the best thing you guys could do for me, man, is hit that thumbs up, drop a comment, and be subscribed, man, because I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. I'm trying real hard. I feel like I'm putting down some real difficult content to do, real in-depth tutorials. These are very time-consuming. So again, I appreciate you guys. And if you guys want to use anything in this video from Gamma, 10% off. Use the code Eddie. You'll get 10% off. I'll get a little kickback too. We all get to win. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace. Oh, and my code does work for 614 Barber Supply as well as Bookedin. All right, you guys. I'm leaving for real this time. Peace.